Okay. So in terms of, let me recap on what it is that I think you're looking for. So you're coming from, is it say like preschool and education?
Yeah.
You're looking at moving into more technical roles. You're looking at moving into the world of audit
Yeah.
and auditing for compliance or whatever it is that we discover as we discuss through it. And we're looking at understanding about how we can make that break into auditing coming from a non-technical background. Um, so I think that's what we're trying to achieve, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay. So when you're going to go through your journey and you're going to be moving into audit, one of the first things to set in your mind is your target for doing auditing, by which I mean there are many different standards and regulations. I mean, generally, but when it comes to information security, cybersecurity, data governance, there are many different frameworks, approaches, certifications, and standards that you can go for. So I think for you to spend a little bit of time and understand that legal and regulatory framework and what is out there is going to give you knowledge about where you can apply your passion. So if I give you an example, within well, globally, there are laws that relate to data protection. In the UK, we've got the UK GDPR, we've
Yeah.
got European GDPR, Data Protection Act 2018. There, there are things that can be audited around data protection, right? Because there is a framework, there is a law, there is a standard. In that arena, it doesn't necessarily currently end in a certification, right? So we're not doing audit to certification level. We're doing audit to implementation level. Like, has the individual met the minimum requirements of the standard? Yeah, you're doing audit, so you can't advise, but have they met the minimum level of the standard? Now, in that world, actually, I said you can't advise. Actually, you can, because you're not auditing for certification, you're not auditing for law. So it's kind of like two types of audit, really. There's like sign-off audit, and then there's audit that you apply to help a client, right?
Yeah.
So people might use the word gap analysis, but in effect, it's an audit. So you're going, here is the framework, for example, GDPR. Here is what my client does right now. Do they meet the requirement of that? Yes or no? And then if you are experienced within that domain, you can then provide that a level of consultancy and advices to get the client up to meet that standard. If I look at things like information security, again, there are different certifications that require different levels of audit. So there are things like Cyber Essentials,
Yeah.
Cyber Essentials Plus. There is the international standard for information security, which is my bread and butter, really, which is ISO 27001, the international
Yeah.
standard for information security. And then we layer on top of 27001 the foundation that it brings additional frameworks. So, for example, predominantly driven by the US, there is a standard called SOC,
Yeah.
and I won't overload you with it. It comes in a type 1 and a type 2. And it's a little bit more complex, and it layers on top. There is a standard called PCI DSS, Payment Card Industry Data Security Standard. And that is a security requirement that applies to any business that stores, processes, or transmits data.
Mhm.
You've then got other frameworks, NIST, and things that come along with that.
Yeah.
So our first starting point is to understand our journey of what is it that we want to be able to audit, right? Do I want to be able to audit to a governance, risk, and compliance framework, potentially a law, or do I want to provide just a high level audit from an IT perspective of an organization?
Yeah.
So you're going to find companies out there that'll do IT health checks that are not security related. They're just more general. So is that something that you've spent time on understanding, or is that quite new to you?
Yeah. So I talked a bit about it with James, about sort of, like you said, doing it to a certified level or more to an implementation level. I guess ultimately I quite like the the sort of concept of the certified level. So doing that sort of higher level to a very specific, I guess, is it a much more prescriptive framework that you then have to audit to? Or is it?
So you kind of got two roles at play, really. You've got implementation, and then you've got what will sign off. Technically, it's just signing it off. Now, obviously, there is a rule, unwritten rule, but a rule that says I can't mark my own homework, right? You come from the school and the education background. I can't like write the test, complete the test, and then mark it myself because I'm going to say I got an A, right? I mean, it's like it's positive, right? So what we're looking at is which side of that fence do we want to sit on?
Yeah.
I have sat on both. At the moment, I favor the implementation side of it, which is I know what the sign off is going to be, right? So I know what the government body, Ofsted or whatever, I know what they're looking for.
Yeah.
And therefore I can prepare you and help you to pass that Ofsted exam, right?
Yeah.
I can help you pass that. But what I can't do is help you do it and then sign it off.
Yeah, sure.
So they're the two sides of the house. Oftentimes, I think from a career perspective, doing the sign off part first probably makes the most sense.
Yeah.
Because yeah, exactly. So if you've been like the poacher gamekeeper kind of thing, I mean, if you've done signing off companies, you know what you've looked for, you know what your colleagues have looked for, you know what's expected. You're then in a much better position to be able to advise client on what they need to do to meet that standard and to get that level up. So I would consider going down that road.
I think that's very much what my feeling was, that would at the moment be more the side of the fence that I would want to go. And then as my experience and understanding of it all builds over time, then other opportunities to be the more implementation side would be another way to go at that point.
Exactly that. So do you have a passion more on technology? Do you have more passion on people and process?
I quite like process. I'm very into sort of so doing preschool. My passion wasn't education at all.
No.
I hadn't worked in it at all. I'd worked in finance up until then. But the things that I've really enjoyed over the years have been sort of implementing all of the policies and the procedures, and then cutting them down into like the most streamlined things. That when I started, my policies were pages and pages and pages, and every year I'd be like, this is ridiculous, and I'd cut it down a bit and cut it down a bit.
Brilliant.
And streamline it. That is really what I enjoy doing probably in any field. I really enjoy that process of thinking, what is it we have to meet or achieve, and what quality does it have to be, and how will we then do that? So I quite enjoy that.
Perfect. Absolutely ideal. And from a monetary perspective, is that important to you to earn lots of money? Are you okay meaning, crazy money, but like middling, or are you just not bothered about money at all? I mean, where do you sit?
Compared to education money, anything is probably a bonus. But I mean, money is not my overriding sort of factor, but I would like to have a comfortable salary from it at least. So,
of course.
And I quite like having a bit of autonomy. So I've not been employed for a long time. I've been my own boss. So the prospect of being able to do something that could eventually be more freelance work is very attractive.
Perfect. So if you pursue a career in the certification side of the house at the moment, and generally actually throughout my career, those resources have been in high demand, right? The trained, qualified auditors, in whatever standard it is that you're going for, typically, they're in high demand. The challenge that you have oftentimes, and that's why I ask about money, is compared to what I would class as a commercial rate, they pay less, So I can see, if I talk about 27001, right? So in 27001, as a consultant doing the implementation, getting client over the line with all that knowledge and experience of certification, I'll make these numbers up, but it's roughly. So you might be able to command maybe £1,000 a day. If you're going to do it as an auditor signing off, you're going to have to do that for somebody else, a certification body. And these are factories in their own right? I mean, they're commercial enterprises, and they try and get away with like giving you day rates of like 450, 550. So it can be 50% less depending on where they think you fit and what they can get away with, right? So that's why I'm saying if you're driven by money, if you're in it for the longer game, then it may be something that you consider, okay, yeah, I get that and I'm going to do that, but I'm going to build up my knowledge and my experience, knowing that eventually I can then go more commercial and then do more on the implementation side.
No, that sounds all right. Money wise, that's kind of there's more than I was aiming for.
That's okay. Yeah, no, that's good.
Education does not pay at all. So.
No.
I mean, an Ofsted inspector, I think the top ones get 300 a day.
Wow.
That's for a full day of report, sometimes more than a whole day. So
yeah.
The money sounds attractive anyway. I have to say.
That's brilliant. I mean, the thing is, once you get into this world, people outside the world see that, but then you will see people arguing, going, "Oh, they're only giving me 550 a day," and you go, but in real life, that's quite a lot of money, right? As you're pointing out, it is a lot of money. Okay, so the different standards, and again, I can guide you down the route, down the different roads. Some of the standards I think will probably be ones that you wouldn't want to go into. So things like Cyber Essentials, things like PCI DSS, I would probably avoid. And the reason I would avoid them is because they become a little bit more technical. There is a little bit more of a technical requirement. There is a little bit more technical auditing that goes around that. The ones that I think would suit your skill set are the ones that suit my skill set. And they would be 27001, definitely. That is just in massive demand constantly. And then once you get a level of maturity and experience under your belt with 27001, would be then to move potentially into SOC 2. So SOC 2 type 1 and type 2 audits. Now, when you move from 27001, very UK centric, so that it is in a lot of demand. And actually, I get a lot of global clients. I've got like Argentina and Australia and Finland, all over, right? So there is a global demand for it. SOC 2 is more of a niche. So once you move into the arena of SOC 2, it is more of a niche. There are less people that can do it, but it commands higher money. So that's your journeyman journey, really, from like apprentice, novice, whatever, coming up to journeyman. You would go down that route. To break into and move into audit, you don't need to be concerned about not having a technical background. You definitely don't. Something like 27001 is a standard that applies to the entire business, and it covers multiple domains. On another session, if we end up doing more time together, I'll explain to you physically and technically how it works, and we'll do a deep dive on it. But just to know that the thing that you're auditing actually covers the whole business. So you're going to be looking at like change control, software development, human resources. Yes, you're going to be looking at technology. Now, nobody has that skill set to know that to the nth degree. So what you're looking at is how the standard is applied to those things, and is the standard applied in the right way? Because it's a slight difference. So I wouldn't get too nervous about going, oh my God, I don't understand network security and firewalls. And you don't need to, right? What we need to understand is processes. Is it documented? Is the document, does it look like it's marked up in the right way? Has that document been reviewed? Is the document signed off? Is the process that you've written down followed by your staff? Can you show me that what this document says, that your staff are doing it? So it's process, the thing that you said that you are driven by rather than technology. There's a lot more process to that. So I'm feeling that 27001 is the route that I would go down for you. It opens up the doors as well, because these certification bodies are all looking for auditors. The opportunity for you to get your foot in the door with one of those, I think, is quite high, right? I think it's a good route to market.
It's good.
So if I was going to look at how I would start my career, you've got two approaches. Mm-hmm. You could go direct to one of the training courses. Yeah. So there are two 27001 courses that are accepted and recognized. There's 27001 lead implementer, 27001 lead auditor.
Yeah.
So you could have a look online for those. Those courses are book-based courses, but they give you a piece of paper at the end of it that would have value when you were then going for a job with a certification body.
Yeah.
Even though it's the most expensive, I think for me, I would probably go down the BSI route for their training. Now, the reason being is BSI are more expensive on most things, but they are the gold standard. So if anybody watches this after, they'll be screaming at me going, no, you should have told them to do my course. But actually, from a career perspective, having that BSI 27001 lead implementer on your CV it's worth gold to you, rather than some training company's version of it. So that's your first route, is to just go straight there really, and then see how you get on.
Yeah.
I've been in this a long time, and coach and help, and people working with me and for me over a number of years. And my standard is, if you're working with me, I would expect 3 certifications that an individual would have, and I always push them and say, even if you're not going on a technical course, book learn it, do it in your own time, and take these 3 certifications. Once you've got them, because they are industries in their own right, there will become a point where you don't keep up to date with them, and that's fine. But what these 3 certifications do is they give you a baseline of knowledge, and they give you a common language. So that if you've got those 3, you've got the bare minimum that you need, and the conversations that we're going to have are going to use that common language, that common terminology. We're going to have that common approach. Now, in the order that I would do them for you, the first one is I would do CISSM, CISM. So the CISM, so the security management, the security principles one, nice and easy.
Yeah.
Then for you, I would do CISA, CISA, so information security auditor.
Yeah.
And then finally, I would do CISSP, CISSP. Now, the things the 3 things that is going to give you is, first one is kind of high level. CISM is a little bit about, okay, how does information security management work? CISA is going to give you, how does audit work? So it's an approach to auditing. Quite dull stuff about sample sizing and independence and all that kind of good stuff goes in there. But if you do CISA, you have the common language of how to conduct audit, not to a standard specific, but the principle of doing audit. The third one, the CISSP one, is information security, really, in breadth, not depth.
Right.
It is one of the hardest ones. I did it, and it was one of the hardest ones I ever did, because it just covers so much information, and even with my background. But what it does is it boosts your knowledge to a minimum level incredibly quickly. You're going to get years of experience that you would have spent gaining the experience. You're going to get that very, very fast. Those 3 would be my entry level. Then I would go for lead implementer. But you can have that conversation with James again. Which route would he go down? Bang for buck, maybe doing lead implementer first. But the other 3 are going to definitely be on your radar. You will see most job adverts are going to say either all 3 or a combination of them. If you've got a security role, they want CISSP, CISM anyway. So, that would be your route in.
Good.
So I don't know, in terms of this session, as I said, I'm going to share with you some materials that looks at governance, risk and compliance at a high level. So to start your education knowledge, I'll share that via James. I'll talk to him after. And then I'll share where we start to look a little bit more at the 27001 standard. And I can engage with you at any point to go further into the 27001. But I think for now, your concentration should be on what are the legal and regulatory frameworks that are out there. Stuart said 27001. Actually, I don't want to do that. I want to do this. That's fine. You might want to do GDPR or data protection. And then to look at your education path, which is either the certification in the thing that you're auditing and or CISSP, CISA, CISM. Yeah. That will start your journey.
Okay, brilliant. And what's the difference between the lead implementer and lead auditor course?
Ask BSI. I've got no idea. I think lead auditor is designed for people that then go and be an auditor for them. So again, so that might be, again, having the discussion with James, you go, well, actually, that's what I'm going to be doing, so I'll do that one first. Whereas I think lead implementer is aimed at somebody who works in a company who's going to go and try and implement it themselves. Right. So it may well actually be that lead auditor, but I would have that discussion with BSI. Tell them where your direction of travel is, and then get them to advise you on which is the best course for you.
Yeah. Cool. Okay.
or other training providers are available.
Yeah. I know James, when he was he did a lot with Firebrand. Are they well recognized in the?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, there's loads out there. I'm not dissing anybody. I'm not. What I'm saying is, for me, if I
Yeah.
was going to do it, I'd go to the source, right? They wrote the standard. I'd just go direct to source. It's worth, if you know, it costs you more, definitely. But for me, you've got that badge. You know, I'm driving whatever, a BMW, or I'm driving a Ford. I mean, it doesn't matter. But some people like that, and it can look better on your CV. You know, if you've gone through the lead auditor course with BSI, they're more likely to take you on as a lead auditor because
Yeah.
you've done their course, right? They know you're trained. So you're in at the top. Then if you went to any other, they're going to take you because they know you've been trained by the BSI.
Yeah.
Whereas if you do it the other way around, you potentially you might close some doors to yourself because people will go, well, actually, that's just anybody could have done that one. You know, I don't know. I mean, training's not my
That
world.
makes sense. That definitely sounds logical. Fantastic. Well, that's been really helpful. Very, very helpful. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I appreciate you giving up the time as well.
No, no problem at all. Have a regroup back with James,
Yeah.
and then say, you know, where do you want to go next? If I can make my time available, as I say, from general to going into the standard, I can teach you, you know, physically how to do an audit. So this isn't book training. This is how I do it. Show you the tools I use, the approach I take, the steps that I go through. You know, I can do that. I just don't want to overload you with knowledge and, you know, out of context go, right, we'll do audit now. And you go, hang on a minute, I haven't even done this basic course yet. And you're like, okay. So yeah, just a bit of planning for you, really.
Yeah, brilliant. Well, I'll take away what you've given me and do a bit of research, look into it all.
Perfect.
And then hopefully set up something else down the line to go through it a bit more.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Okay, no worries. I'll leave it there then, and I'll talk to you soon.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you so much.
No.